When a narcissist hurts you, they're not just trying to cause pain. They want to own your emotions, control your reaction, and watch you collapse. That's the high their fragile ego feeds on. But what if you refuse to play the role they scripted for you? What if, instead of crying, you stayed silent? Instead of reacting, you stayed calm? Instead of breaking down, you rose even higher? In today's episode, I'm going to show you exactly how to confuse a narcissist completely after they hurt you. This isn't about revenge. This is about reclaiming your emotional power and your peace, the two things they fear the most. You'll learn why strategic silence speaks louder than any words. You'll learn how to counterattack without even flinching. And most importantly, you'll discover how to make them crumble inside their own illusion. If you're recovering from narcissistic abuse, you are not alone and you are not powerless. There is a way out. And yes, there is a way to win without stooping to their level. So don't click away. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Tap the notification bell so you never miss a healing message again. Stay until the end. This might just be the breakthrough your soul has been waiting for. When a narcissist hurts you, make no mistake. It's not impulsive. It's not accidental. It's a strategy. They don't just want you to suffer. They want to extract a reaction from you. Your pain is a form of validation. It tells them they still matter, that they still control something inside you. Never assume the cruel words, the silent treatments, or the public shaming are emotional slip-ups. No, these are emotional tests designed to measure your vulnerability. They're watching. Will you break down? Will you beg? Will you lash out? Will you collapse just enough for them to feel powerful again? Because to them, you're not a person. You're a response. If they can still make you cry, rage, spiral, they still own part of your world. That's how they feed. That's how they survive. But here's what they never expect. Your calm silence. Not the silence of defeat, but the silence of awareness. The kind of silence that says, I see you, I know what this is, and I'm no longer playing. When you don't react, you throw them off balance. When you don't defend yourself, they lose their grip. When you walk away with peace instead of chaos, they have nothing to feed on. And that's when their mask begins to crack. Picture this. You run into the person who once shattered you, but instead of trembling, you're grounded. Your eyes are calm, your voice steady. You look at them the same way you'd look at a stranger on a sidewalk. No drama, no attachment, no spark left to ignite. In that moment, you don't have to say a word, because your presence alone becomes the loudest message they've ever received. Narcissists are not afraid of being hated. In fact, they often enjoy it, because hate means you still care. What terrifies them is your indifference. Your emotional absence dismantles their fantasy of being relevant. That's how the manipulation cycle breaks. No reaction, no control, no supply, no significance. They will try to regain that power. A random message, a subtle post aimed at you, a vague apology, even an unexpected act of kindness through a mutual friend. But don't fall for it. From this point forward, you are the main character. This is your rewrite, your voice, your peace, your truth. And this is the chapter where you stop reacting and start reclaiming. And if, for any reason, you still have to engage with a narcissist, maybe because of shared children, work obligations, family ties, or legal matters, then it's time to learn the art of the emotional freeze strategy. Freezing isn't about becoming cold out of hatred. It's about becoming neutral out of wisdom. It's when you step into a version of yourself that they can no longer touch, no longer read, no longer manipulate. You become a mirror that no longer reflects anything they can feed off emotionally. Because here's the truth. Narcissists don't just want your silence. They want to read you. They study your micro-expressions, tone shifts, eye movements, and facial reactions. A flicker of irritation, they'll exploit it. A shadow of sadness, they'll dig deeper. A glimpse of joy, they'll try to snatch it. That's why freezing isn't weakness. It's mastery. It's a boundary that doesn't need to be spoken because they can feel it. Picture this. You walk into a room where the narcissist is present, but your energy is calm, contained, and completely unshakable. They can't read your thoughts, your feelings, or your stance. That uncertainty unravels them, because narcissists cannot control what they cannot understand. So how do you embody the freeze? Use a neutral tone. Speak in short, measured sentences. Only respond when necessary. No raised voice, no excessive warmth, no sarcasm. Avoid eye contact if it helps you stay grounded. Don't overshare, don't explain, don't defend. They ask a loaded question, respond with calm, factual clarity. They provoke, let silence speak for you. They offer fake compliments, politely nod and move on. You don't owe them your warmth. You owe yourself your peace. Freezing isn't denying your pain. It's choosing not to let it bleed every time you're in their presence. It's how you protect your nervous system from their chaos. It's how you train your body to know not every interaction deserves emotional activation. Not everyone deserves access to your sincerity. And the magic is, freezing becomes even more powerful when the narcissist still thinks they can access the old version of you. The version that trembled, justified, over-explained. But you've changed. You've installed emotional firewalls between you and them, and they no longer have the password. Yes, it will drive them crazy. They'll call you cold, fake, heartless, not who you used to be. Let them. That's their final trick, to guilt trip you, to bait you into proving that you still care, that you haven't changed, that they still matter. Don't fall for it. Let your calmness do the talking, because silence isn't avoidance. It's transcendence. It's what happens when you stop seeking closure from someone who only knows how to create chaos. Some worry that freezing means becoming numb. But understand this. You're not freezing with the world. You're only freezing with them. You're not becoming cold. You're becoming clean. Clean of their manipulation, clean of their emotional loops, clean of anyone unworthy of your tenderness. You're not freezing because you're jaded. You're freezing because you finally understand no one gets to touch your inner light if all they bring is darkness. And this freeze, it's not forever. It's a temporary shield. A tactic you use to protect the most vulnerable parts of yourself until you're strong enough to walk freely without needing to armor up. And believe me, they will notice. They'll see that your eyes no longer search for their approval, that your voice no longer trembles, that your energy no longer bends around theirs, and they'll be terrified. Because your silence is a declaration. The game is over. You're no longer reacting because you're no longer controlled. You don't need revenge because you've already won. You don't need to prove anything because your inner peace speaks for itself. You're no longer their source of supply. You're the end of their cycle. You are the mirror they cannot bear to face because it reflects their failure. So the next time you're in front of them, breathe deep. Return to your body. And remember, you owe them nothing. Your healing is none of their business. Your silence is not your weakness. Your freeze is your power. And it works. But there comes a moment when you have to stand up, not just for yourself, but to send a message. I'm not afraid of you anymore. When a narcissist feels their grip on you slipping, they often resort to threats. They'll try to scare you into submission, threatening your job, your relationships, your reputation, or weaponizing secrets you once shared. They want you silent. They want you scared. Because fear is the only leash they have left. But here's the truth. If you back down now, you give them the green light to keep doing it, again and again. So if they threaten you, take it as a declaration of war, but don't fight it with chaos. Fight it with clarity, with cold strategy, and most importantly, with proof. Before you even think about exposing them publicly, you must gather your evidence, ruthlessly and quietly. Collect everything. Texts, voice recordings, emails, screenshots, journals, anything that shows a pattern of abuse, manipulation, threats, or deception. Back it up in multiple places, on the cloud, external drives, or with someone you trust. Narcissists are experts at erasing tracks. You need to be 10 steps ahead. And here's what you need to remember. When you have truth on your side, you don't need to scream to be believed. You just need to show it. Narcissists fear exposure more than anything else. Their entire existence hinges on a false image. When that mask falls, there's nothing underneath but the fragility they work so hard to hide. And what terrifies them the most isn't what you say, it's your ability to prove it. But exposing them doesn't mean you have to make a public spectacle right away. Your first step is to draw a firm boundary behind closed doors. Let them know, calmly and directly, that if they continue to threaten you, you will not stay silent. Say it once. Say it clearly. No arguments. then go silent, completely. This silence isn't weakness. It's calculated protection. It creates confusion, panic. Because when a narcissist doesn't know what you're planning, they lose control of the narrative. If they keep pushing, be ready to act. You can involve legal authorities if the threats are physical, emotional, or damaging to your well-being. You can begin telling your truth to people who matter, your friends, your family, your community, before the narcissist gets to them with their twisted version. You can even choose to speak publicly in a safe and legally appropriate way without naming names, but with enough power to help others recognize the signs. Because sometimes telling your story isn't about revenge, it's about empowerment. It's about breaking the silence for someone else who's still stuck in it. But always ask yourself this first. What's your intention? If you're doing this for revenge, you're still playing their game. But if you're doing this to reclaim your life and protect your peace, then that's your power. That's your truth. And no narcissist can destroy it. You see, they never thought you'd rise. They counted on your silence. They fed off the idea that you were too scared, too loyal, or too ashamed to fight back. But now you're not that version of you anymore. Now you see them clearly. And that clarity, it terrifies them. Because the moment you stop playing by their rules is the moment they start to unravel. So when you say, I have the proof and I will not be intimidated, you reclaim everything they tried to strip from you. Your voice, your dignity, your power. Even if they lash out, even if they smear you, they can't win. Not against someone who no longer responds with fear. Nothing breaks a narcissist faster than realizing their threats don't work anymore. And here's the beauty of it. You don't even need to destroy them. That's not your goal. Your goal is liberation. Your goal is peace. And if exposure is what it takes to protect yourself or warn others, then so be it. But do it with strategy. Do it with facts. Do it from a place of strength, not woundedness. Eventually, they'll back down. They always do when they realize you're not afraid, that you hold the truth. And you're not afraid to use it. Not to hurt, but to protect. Not to destroy, but to finally be free. And then there will come a moment, not because you're angry, not because you're desperate, but because you are full within yourself, overflowing with clarity and peace. You'll know it's time to walk away and cut all contact. This isn't an escape. It's a deliberate choice, a redemptive act. Because you've tried everything. You stayed calm, you froze, you stopped reacting, you set boundaries. And now there's nothing left to hold on to. No false hopes, no unanswered questions, no emotional threads worth preserving. You realize that their presence in your life no longer serves your growth. It suffocates the light within you. Cutting ties with a narcissist is not easy. They won't let you go quietly. They'll try to pull you back using every trick in the book. Begging, manipulating, threatening, lying, or playing the victim, which is why you need to prepare, carefully, silently, with no loose ends. First, reclaim all your energy from the relationship. This doesn't just mean blocking their number or deleting their accounts. It means reclaiming your heart, your attention, your expectations, and all those invisible threads that kept you attached. Allow yourself to see them for what they truly are. Not someone who once moved your heart, but someone who exploited your softness to feed their distorted sense of self. Next, build a support system, whether it's a therapist, a few deeply trusted friends, or a safe community where you can be heard without judgment. Create a space where you can fall apart, heal, and rebuild. Because after you cut contact, there will be empty spaces, doubt, and even grief. Don't walk through that alone. When you're ready, you initiate no contact, complete disconnection. No replies to messages, no reading emails, no checking their social media, no asking mutuals about them, no allowing them any channel to access your energy again. They may say you're childish, avoidant, heartless. Let them. They're lashing out because they no longer have control over you. You may feel moments of weakness, recalling good memories or feeling guilty for abandoning someone who now pretends to need you. But remember, those good moments were real, yet not enough to redeem a toxic relationship. And your moment of vulnerability is not a sign you were wrong. It's a sign you're slowly detaching from a dependency that had taken root too deep. Walking away isn't just leaving a person. It's leaving behind a version of yourself, the one who lived for the approval of someone unworthy, who sacrifice their own feelings to maintain fake peace, who once mistook harm for love. And then, little by little, you'll step out of the darkness. You'll stop flinching at every notification. You'll stop dreaming of closure conversations. You'll realize you never needed their apology to heal. You'll understand you were never weak. You just were never taught how to protect your own heart. Walking away is the first step to relearning everything. Learning to trust your intuition. Learning to respect your limits. Learning not to give your soul to those who haven't earned your tenderness. Leaving is the bravest act of self-love. And don't think you have to walk away in pain or hatred. Walk away in awareness, in stillness, in your deepest freedom. No grand announcements, no confrontations, no need to win, because peace is already your victory. After you leave, there will be difficult days, but now you have a compass. You will learn to keep walking without looking back. And one day, when your heart is finally calm, when you look back and no longer shake, you will know, I didn't just survive, I came back, and I am more radiant than ever. You don't need them. It might sound simple, but maybe it took you a long time, many tears, and the loss of your own peace just to arrive at one truth. You are fully capable of living well without them. Maybe you once loved them with all your heart. Maybe you believed that if they changed, if you tried harder, if you waited long enough, things would be different. But in the end, you started to realize the longer you stayed, the more of yourself you lost. You lost confidence, you lost sleep, you lost laughter, you lost the little important pieces that made you who you were. A narcissist never truly loved you. They loved your attention, your vulnerability, and the feeling of being able to manipulate your emotions at will. They made you believe that only they could understand you, that only they could accept you. But it was never love. It was control. It was attachment masquerading as connection, because if you left, they would lose their emotional supply, a supply they cannot create from within. But now, you've broken free. You might still hurt. You might still feel empty at night. You might still miss them, or miss the false version of them that once made you feel seen. That's okay. That's human. But you must understand this. Missing someone doesn't mean you should go back. You are learning to live again from the ground up. And yes, it's hard. Old habits cling. Maybe you still find yourself apologizing first, even when you did nothing wrong. Maybe you still wait for a message to feel validated. Maybe you still check their social media just to see how they're living without you. But little by little, you will let go. You'll start to spend time with yourself, doing small things you once thought were pointless, reading, planting, exercising, sleeping well, not to prove anything to them, but to fill yourself with your own presence. Living well without them means you stop defining your worth through the eyes of someone who never truly knew how to love. Living well without them means you accept that sometimes you'll be lonely, but it's a safe kind of loneliness, not the kind you felt even when you were lying next to them. Living well without them means you no longer play a role just to be accepted. You begin living as your whole self, flaws, strengths, and all. And strangely, you feel okay. In fact, you start to feel relieved. And then one day you'll wake up and not think about them. One day you'll scroll through old messages and ask yourself, why did I settle for so little? One day you'll look at your reflection, radiant, calm, matured, and you'll smile. One day you might love someone else, or maybe not. But this time, love will come from a full place, not a wounded one. You won't love to be saved. You'll love to grow together. And if no one comes, you'll still be whole because you've learned to choose yourself every single day. Living well without them is the most powerful act of healing you can do. Not revenge, not talking badly about them, not proving anything, just living authentically, kindly, intentionally, peacefully. And trust me, they'll know. They may never admit it, they may pretend not to care, but they'll know when you're no longer dependent on them. They'll know when you've stepped fully onto a new path, a path they can't follow, because it no longer welcomes manipulation and illusion. You don't need to go back to prove you've changed. You don't need to show them that you've moved on, because even if they don't see it, you are living, and you are living well. You are relearning how to love yourself. You are rebuilding your trust. You are healing little by little, even if no one else sees it but you. And that's enough. Also, don't rush into a new relationship when your heart hasn't had time to heal. I know what that emptiness feels like after leaving a toxic relationship. You might feel like you need to fill that void right away. You see others in relationships and think, if I find someone new, maybe it'll get better. But the truth is, a new relationship isn't the cure for old wounds. Love shouldn't be used as a painkiller. If your heart is still bleeding from past hurt, anyone new who steps in is essentially walking through a minefield. And when something goes wrong, you won't know if it's about them or your unhealed trauma reacting. Emotions get amplified. Words are misunderstood. You're not really reacting to the new person. You're reacting to unresolved pain. Give yourself time. No one deserves to be used as a bandage for someone else's pain. And you don't deserve to enter a new relationship when all you're really looking for is a way to avoid loneliness. Loneliness won't break you. Running from it will. A relationship built from fear of being alone, of being abandoned, of not being enough, quickly becomes another loop, and maybe even worse than the last. You'll repeat old patterns with a new face, and then you'll wonder, why do I always attract the same type of person? The truth is, when you're unhealed, you radiate unresolved energy. And sometimes toxic people, whether intentionally or not, are drawn to that. Not because you're weak, but because you haven't yet built your emotional immune system. You're more easily drawn to sweet words, gestures that look like care, but are actually control dressed up as affection. So pause. Learn how to be alone without feeling lonely. Learn how to cook for yourself, sleep peacefully by yourself, go out alone, and feel full even when no one texts you good night. Learn how to love yourself before loving anyone else. This isn't easy, but it's necessary. You need to relearn your body's language to know when you're truly unsafe and when it's old trauma speaking. You need to be able to tell the difference between real care and subtle manipulation. You need to learn what a boundary feels like, and most importantly, how not to apologize for having one. The right person won't be threatened by your boundaries. They won't make you feel guilty for needing space. They won't ask you to sacrifice your truth just to keep their love. But to recognize that person, you need to be healed enough to see clearly. You don't have to be completely okay to love again, but you do have to be aware enough not to use love as anesthesia. Healing doesn't have a fixed endpoint, but there will come a moment when you feel peace in your own skin, when messages no longer trigger you, when you no longer crave rescue. That's when you'll be ready. Not because you're empty, but because you're full enough to share, not to depend. And if someone shows up during that healing process, take it slow. Don't rush into definitions. Don't make promises too soon. Observe, listen, feel. Watch if they build you up or make you feel lost again. Healthy love won't make you question your worth every day. It'll give you space to be fully you, even on your imperfect days. But before you find that kind of love, be the one who gives that space to yourself first. You're not late. You're not broken. You're not too much. You're healing. And that's beautiful. If you're in that in-between phase, letting go of the past but not quite ready to welcome something new, remember it's not a void. It's a sacred pause, a space where you return to yourself, where you listen inward, where you heal from the root, not just patch things up on the surface. Don't rush love. Don't rush trust. Don't rush attachment. Be steady. Be honest. Be real, especially with yourself. And one day when you are truly ready, love will arrive. Not in chaos, not in disguise, not in desperation, but with calm, maturity, and mutual peace. But until then, choose stillness over another repeated cycle, because you deserve a love that doesn't require you to abandon yourself to keep it. And finally, please stop waiting for them to change. I know you once believed that if you were patient enough, loved them deeply enough, tolerated enough, then one day they would realize that you were the one who never left, that true love could save anyone, that if you were good enough, kind enough, understanding enough, they would change. But the harsh truth is this: a narcissist does not change just because you love them. They only change, if at all, when they themselves realize they need to, when they're willing to confront the deep wounds within, when they are ready to let go of control and their inflated ego to truly heal. And that almost never happens, because they live by manipulating others' emotions to feel valuable. Everything within them is designed to avoid responsibility and shift blame. The more you wait for them to change, the deeper you get pulled into a spiral of disappointment and self-doubt. They hurt you, then apologize, then do it again, then make promises, then repeat. A cycle so familiar that you no longer notice you're completely drained. Not because they're so awful, but because you've hurt yourself over and over by believing they would be different. They may cry, apologize, promise. They may say all the right things. They may convince you that this time it's real. But look at their actions, not their words. They apologize not because they understand their mistakes, but because they're afraid of losing control. They make promises not to grow, but to get you back, to keep that emotional supply going. You are not their therapist. You were not sent here to fix them. You are a human being, and you deserve to be loved in a way that doesn't make you question every night, am I good enough? Don't waste your youth on someone you have to teach how to be kind. Don't use love as a lesson plan. You may be an incredible person, but to them, you'll always be someone to experiment on emotionally, not someone they truly cherish. Here's the bitter truth. Narcissists are only good when it benefits them. They're gentle when they need something. They act sorry when they feel you slipping away. But once they know you've come back, they return to their true selves. Controlling, gaslighting, denying, emotionally abusive. And you know this. You've lived through it, maybe many times. So this time, believe what you've seen. No more second chances, no more last tries. You've tried enough. They won't change, at least not for you, not for love, and certainly not because of the tears you've cried. And you know what? That's not your fault. It's not because you weren't good enough. It's not because you didn't try hard enough. It's not because you weren't patient or compassionate. It's because you put your heart into the hands of someone who never intended to care for it. So stop waiting. Stop hoping for a version of them that doesn't exist. Let the truth set you free. They will not change. And that is the moment you get to choose. Will you keep staying, sacrificing yourself while waiting for something that will never come? Or will you stand up, walk away, and begin your own healing journey? One where your happiness doesn't depend on anyone changing. The answer is in your hands. And whatever you choose, I hope you choose peace over chaos, truth over fantasy, yourself over a beautiful lie wrapped in poison, because you deserve a life where you don't have to question your worth every single day. Because in the end, the one who needs to change is not them, but you, changing the decision to keep believing in them. And here's the truth. The thing that confuses a narcissist the most is when you no longer need them. You don't need their validation. You don't need their reaction. You don't need their permission to move on, because a narcissist believes that your pain will keep you tethered. They believe your tears are proof that they still matter. They assume your silence is only a pause before your return. But when you walk away with clarity instead of chaos, when you choose peace instead of protest, when you choose healing instead of hoping they'll change, that is the moment they begin to fall apart. They don't know what to do with your indifference. Your emotional detachment shakes them more than any outburst ever did. Because for the first time, they are no longer the center of the story. You are the one reclaiming the power. And make no mistake, this isn't revenge. This is a reclamation of your sanity. This is how you choose to rise for yourself in a way they never did. This is the life you're rebuilding, steady, whole, and no longer governed by anyone else. So confuse them by growing, shake them with your silence, break them by no longer bleeding from the wounds they once inflicted. You owe them nothing, but you owe yourself everything. And if you're on this journey, walking through the silence, rebuilding your identity, coming home to your truest self, I want you to remember this. You are not weak for still feeling pain. You are not broken for still remembering. You are human, healing, and doing better than you think. So keep going. Keep choosing peace over chaos. Keep choosing yourself every single day, because the moment you do is the moment they lose control forever. And if this message spoke to you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs the reminder. True strength doesn't come from fighting back. It comes from the calm, powerful silence you choose for your own well-being. You are not alone. on this journey. Not anymore.